Hi, Deepa Rani Shekhar from Transform Life Programs. Love and Light. Friends, today I'm going to talk about parenting, which is a responsibility and sometimes people feel it's a huge challenge. Agreed? And parenting has different perspectives. It's not the same. There is no one formula for the whole packaging of parenting. Agreed? So, what's your concept of parenting? Take a guess. Is it giving good food to your children, seeing that they eat well, eat on time, and grow into strong, healthy individuals? Is that your concept of parenting? Fine. Is it making them obedient, disciplined? Is that what is your concept of parenting? Is it teaching them to win, to set goals, reach goals? And this setting goals and winning starts with scoring marks in the exam. Is that what parenting is, to equip them to get good marks and win in exams, interviews, and whatever? Is it providing them all that money can buy and make them feel comfortable? Is it teaching them decision making? Is it kindling that fire of curiosity in them? Is it making them guilty so that they become better individuals? What is the baseline of parenting? Well, let us consider few points to go through the journey of parenting. And it's a journey, it never ends. It's an everlasting journey. So, the first thing here is, whatever you talk in front of the child is very, very important, friends. Never ever think it's only a baby, it's just newborn. So, how will it understand? That is the primal mistake where things go wrong and the growing or upbringing of the child goes into gross error. Why? Because we think the child doesn't understand. Only the child cannot reply. The child cannot talk. Otherwise, the child understands everything that we speak. Not just once when it is born. Right from the conception point, the child has this awareness of understanding everything, grasping everything. Consider the example of Abhimanyu from the Mahabharata. He was in his mother Subhadra's womb, where Father Arjuna was talking about warfare and talking about entering the Chakravyuh. And Subhadra, who had no interest in warfare whatsoever, slept off. It's not her fault, okay? And when Arjuna realized that Subhadra had slept, he still heard someone saying yes, and realized it was a fetus. And he said, okay, you sleep now, and left without completing how the process of Chakravyuha, the process of how to come out safely. And he really had to pay a very dear price with the life of his dearest son Abhimanyu in the war of Mahabharata. So, what we talk has a very deep impact on children even before they are born. And this is proven by science as well. It's not just mythology, even science has proven that whatever we talk, the fetus can grasp. So be very careful and conscious of what you speak, though the child is just born or yet to be born. All right, that is the first point. Point number one, be aware and conscious of all that you say. Be it about the child or be it about yourself, your problems, whatever. Be very conscious. And the second point is, as the child grows up, there might be points of disagreement, differences. Never go to the point of just hushing up the child by giving it whatever it wants or giving it what it actually doesn't want also, just to divert the child. Never do that. Ask the child, why are you crying? What is the discomfort? And have a fair discussion whether it is feasible to grant whatever the child is asking or what the child is not asking. For example, if the child wants to go by himself or herself to the swimming pool at a very young age, let's say below 6-7 years, it is not doable. There is a high risk involved. So you have to tell the child cannot go alone to the swimming pool. It always has to be supervised by an adult. So if you're busy, you have to ask the child to wait or put aside everything and go. Again, putting aside everything, you are setting an example that you throw tantrums, I will throw all my work and come and do what you want. So you got to set the balance right there by saying, this is very important. If I don't finish this, I will be in trouble. So you'll have to wait for me. Give me time to finish this. And be fair where you find a middle ground. And that's the first set where you try to make an understanding between the child and what the child can have, what the child cannot have. Again, do not make rules by your set of standards. Okay? Just because we have decided, let's come to food now. Just because we have decided we have to eat 3 or 4 times a day doesn't mean we have to impose the same discipline of a military role at home to say you got to eat at this time. You got to eat this in a meal. No, it's not that way. Allow the child to be mindful of the choice of food the child would want to eat. Most parents, what they do is, when the child is young, when the first few feeds are going, instead of connecting with the child, talking about the food, asking the child to relish the food, easy method of mashing the food and pushing it inside is done, which is a very wrong method because the child is not chewing. Part of the digestion is not done. And again, the child is not connecting with the element of food at all. It's just going inside. So it's not a healthy thing to do. And the next thing parents do to make it easy and quick is play something on YouTube or television, or give a mobile to the child as the child is busy, diverted in the gadget, push feed it. No. If the child wants to skip a meal, it's okay. Because the body knows when to eat, what to eat. The child comes with that awareness. Because by the time we are adults and have children, our awareness is muffled. And we try to muffle the child's awareness. So if the child wants to skip a meal, so be it. There's going to be no fault. There's going to be no problem. Many a times we overfeed the child before the age of 10 or 12. And when they become obese in their teenage, we try to cut down on the snacks, cut down on the food, which is very difficult for the child at that point. Have a balance right from the beginning. That's because we tend to take the same food chart we ate when we were kids. When we were kids, what was the amount of physical activity we had? What is the amount of physical activity our children are having? It is much lesser. So keeping all that in mind, the body knows what to take, when to take. So do the mindful eating. Let your child choose what to eat, when to eat. Even if the child skips a meal, 2 meals, it's absolutely okay. Even if we can do that, it would be better. It really is healthy and makes the body feel light. Trust me. So that is about food. Never force feed the child. The concept is that, you feed the child, let's say, a concept of 2 sandwiches or a bowl of rice or 2 rotis or whatever. And this much of vegetables, this much, that's here, not in the child's head. So that's our concept of a healthy meal. No, the child might not want so much food that day because the child has not burnt the calories consumed in the morning. Allow the child to be mindful of the body and choose. The next one is trust the child when the child says something. That doesn't mean dote on the child and take all that the child says. To subtly see the authenticity of the information is up to you. But that doesn't mean flatly do not say that I don't believe in what you're saying. It is the biggest blow to a child when the parent doesn't believe it, especially in complaints about abuse, more so in cases of sexual abuse. It takes a lot of courage for the child to muster and talk about it to the parent. If you don't believe it, trust me, something is broken here for the child and that never gets whole again. So please believe your child, honor their choices, honor what they are saying. And the next important thing is listen to your child. We always expect our child to listen to us, but how much do we listen to them? Very little. We don't listen much because we feel we know it all and you have to listen to us. We don't have to listen to you. Listen to the child. Listen to the stories the child says. Listen to the questions they ask you. Answer them with patience. This is going to take the child a long way in their journey of life. And this is one of the best ways of bonding with your child. Build that bridge of confidentiality and rapport with your child where the child can discuss anything and tell you anything. The child should not have the fear of telling you something. So give that element of honor, confidentiality and trust to your child where the child can speak anything. And again, messy rooms, not cleaning up after them is a common thing that children do. They have to learn it nevertheless, but see that you gently nudge them to do it. To never be harsh on them. Never ever label the child as a hopeless child or a useless child or something. You know, it sticks here deep within. And to take it out, it is a hell of a task. Trust me, it's a hell of a task. So never label your child, never brand your child. Ask them, if you're not cleaning up and I don't clean up after you, would you like me to serve the meal in the same plate? They will get the message. Once you say you clean your plate and bring it for the next meal, they will do it. You leave their room messy for 3 days, 4 days, they will learn to do it. Don't push them and brand them over that. What is our standard or concept of cleanliness is not the same for the child. Understand that. They have their interests and emotions on other things. So be in allowance of that. And remember this very, very important point. When the child breaks something, spills something, very often when you give a glass of milk to the child and the child is drinking, and when it is diverted or is on other thoughts, the child drops the glass and the glass shatters, spilling milk all over. What broke should be the cup alone, the glass alone, never the child's confidence and self-esteem. For what you're going through, whatever you're going through in your life, do not pass the buck on the child by saying you're useless, you're hopeless, you're good for nothing, that. The child takes everything with a seriousness and grows up with that lack to become someone who can never achieve much, because the belief you have given is you're good for nothing, you're hopeless. So what broke should be only the glass, what spilled should be only the milk, never the confidence of the child and never the self-esteem of the child. Nurture the confidence and self-esteem of your child, because the damage to it will cost you very dearly in future. So always be mindful of that. However, whatever stress you're going through, deal with it. Never link it to your child and never pass the buck, because you cannot answer back to your spouse. You cannot abuse your spouse. You cannot give those harsh words to your spouse. Don't make your child the scapegoat. You're going to regret it if you do that. And the next thing is, speak things that are nurturing and positive. Do not give them the concept of lack that you have, because probably we grew up with that lack as a way of life when we were young. Our parents probably grew up in a much bigger way of lack, because that's the period they grew up. That was the period that we grew up. But today, Whether we have or not, the lack or abundance is a different thing. What we practically have is different, but give them that space of abundance here. Give them that space of abundance. Do not tell them to pick at every morsel saying food is important, this is important, that is important, you can't waste it. The universe is in abundance. Take as much as you want and let there be more for others. Should be what you should say. Do not waste food because food is precious, not because there is a lack. The same thing told in a different way gives the concept of abundance and the nurturing feeling, while saying there is a lack brings that constricted energy which doesn't help them grow. The next important thing is telling them they always have to win. Yes, winning is good, and we as parents feel very proud. Let's consider a few things here. One is you have always taught the child to win. Remember, winning in exam is not winning in life. Allow them the space of spending time with friends. Sometimes not doing very well in exams. Playing, bunking classes, allow them all that. That's where they are going to learn life. They will learn about life and the way to deal with life outside the classroom and not inside the classroom. Friends, success in exams is very, very easy. Success in career is also easy, but not success in life as a whole. Teach them the wholesome concept of winning in all areas of life. So never teach them how to succeed in exams and score the highest, because after a while that becomes redundant. Teach them how to win over life. They can win over life only when you teach them to take failures with a pinch of salt. With only one or two children, all of us are able to provide everything materially to them. And we always speak of winning and give them the tools and tips to win. Fine. But when it comes to relationship, when they go into a relationship, we cannot help them with that. They have to manage that. Then when both of them come from the same background and want to win, both of them don't want to take a step back and allow the other person the breathing space, relationships crumble. And sometimes when the other person doesn't reciprocate their love, be it a crush or a deep love affair, when the other person is not interested, when it is a one-side love, this person, if we have never taught them to take failure in their stride with a pinch of salt, they go into a depression or go into suicidal tendencies. And we are actually responsible for that. So teach them to take failures with a pinch of salt. It's okay to fail. When you get up from a failure is a greater success than always succeeding. So have a backup plan. What if you don't do this? Okay, we will see later. Give them that confidence. Always tell them that. And never impose your ideas on them. That is your idea of success. That is your formula of success. That is your concept of success. Allow them to figure out what is success to them, what is life to them. Allow them the curiosity and allow them to figure it out. All right? Never tell them this is what success is. Ask them what is the lifestyle you want to live. They will come up with something. When they are very little kids, probably they might say, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want 10 cars. So to get that 10 cars, the big, huge palatial house you want to live in, what have you got to do? And leave it there. They will figure out. It's not the marks, friends. How you're going to earn your bread and butter, and how you're going to maintain your relationships, how you're going to maintain your body and stay healthy is all life is about. It's not the marks. So teach them these tools. And right from the young age, never ever tell them in front of them, give them the compliment of saying they don't listen, they are very adamant. Never take pride in that. Later on, when they're little kids, it's fun to do that. But when they grow up and come to adolescence, we are not okay with the decisions they are making, right from their hairstyle to the clothes that they wear. Then there is resistance and reaction from both sides. That is when both of them feel the other party doesn't care for them. The parents also feel that, the adolescent also feels that. So have a balance right from the beginning. Know where to draw the line. And allow them freedom also. Never always hold it tight. So have that thing of where to draw the line. And if you need help, take the help of a counselor. It's okay. There's no taboo attached. There's no stigma attached. It's okay to consult a counselor than regret it later in life. It's always better to be wise than sorry. Allow them to make their own choices of a career, of their life partner, whatever. Don't make all their choices for them. What happens later? They still cannot make their choices, and the spouse will start making the choices for them because they cannot make their own choices. They don't care who makes the choice. Somebody makes a choice and they follow. And then we feel, oh my God, I did so much, but my child doesn't listen to me anymore. That's because they can't think on their own. Simple. Who did that? We did that. Right? So allow them to make their own choices. Most of the times our explanation for not allowing them to make their own choices is, they don't know. I know it all. Come on, friends. Have we not made mistakes? Have we not failed? If not here, somewhere there. Have all the choices we made been the best? Probably somewhere best, somewhere not. But we did learn from the not so good choices. They will learn too. So allow them to make the choices. Ask questions to say. Ask them, if you make this choice, how will your life be after a year? After 5 years? After 10 years? They will figure it out. Never ever make choices for them and conclude that this is this. And as a parent, if you're feeling guilty, I am not able to give 100% into my parenting. There is no 100%, friends. There is absolutely no 100%. Again, there is no tabular column to measure what is 100%. It is your own idea. It is your own number in your head. So if your child is happy with you, if you're happy with the child, and if you know that this is a nurturing relationship and this will give you good results, that's all that needs. Never think I am doing this, I am focusing on my career, I am not doing this, I am not doing that. If you're not doing that, make alternate arrangements for that, because being guilty doesn't help either you or your child. So always give from here, from your heart. Never do it for the sake of doing. If you're busy, you can't do that. Have someone else take over, probably a grandmother, an aunt, or a nanny. But see that when you have nannies or somebody else looking after the child, have CCTV cameras, have the person's background check. See that the child is safe. Teach the child the good and bad touch at a very young age. If you are not comfortable talking, take the child to sexual awareness programs. The child needs to know. Never shy away from talking about sex with your child. So when something goes wrong, the child doesn't know because you have never spoken. And friends, they do talk, and there's a lot of information on the internet. They get a lot of information, but they don't know what to take. So if you're talking, they will straight away come and ask you. That's the best bet. So this is a wee bit on how we can take our parenting to a healthy and nurturing relationship, a beautiful journey with our children. Remember, friends, ultimately what is that we want? Our children to be happy. Most of them are successful, but are they happy? If they are happy, they will be successful. So know the difference. Most of them are successful, but they're not happy. If they are happy, they will be successful. So allow them to be happy. Allow them make choices that make them happy. Do not define their happiness by your standards. Allow them to make their own choices. Hope I have made some sense in the ramblings that I did about parenting. So if you have a question, please leave it in my inbox. And if there is something you want to give as a feedback, please do so. You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. Deepa Rani Shekhar from Transform Life Programs. Love and light.